Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Very nice that you make time to be with us on Thursday evenings. It'll be extra nice if you turn on your videos. Thank you, Christina. It's always good to see you. I know it's not possible for everyone, but whosoever can turn on their videos and keep your mics muted, that would be truly appreciated. So let's start with today's program. So we are already in the month of July. More than half a year has passed. And in July, we are bringing 7-day meditation course, Reviving the Higher Self. The course is starting on July 11th to 17th. It's offered in the evening. It'll be for an hour and a half from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. On July 16th, we are offering a workshop, Self-Care and True Well-Being. Workshop is in the morning. It's Saturday. 16th is a Saturday. Workshop is in the morning from 10 to 11:30. Besides this, we meet every Thursday. So Manhattan Center offers, talks on different topics of interest on every Thursday, and we have a get-together here. Right? And as you already all know, that we also offer live meditation twice a day, Power Boost at 12 p.m. from Monday to Friday, and Good Night Meditation at 8 p.m. from Monday to Saturday, and 7:30 p.m. on Sundays. So I'm sure you are taking the benefit of all the services we offer, if not all at the same time, but here and there, right? Mix and match. If you have any questions, you can post it in the chat. The speaker will open the floor for questions also. The topic-related questions will be at the end. But if you have any other questions or queries, you can just post it in the chat and I'll do my best to answer them. So today's topic, the wisdom of modesty. Speaker is Dr. Rona Schweitz. And I'm going to invite her without further ado, share on her thoughts on this topic, wisdom of modesty. Good evening, Sister Rona. Very warm welcome on behalf of everyone.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. And welcome through Zoom to Peace Village, the Brahma Kumari's retreat center in upstate New York. We are here because there will be a retreat this weekend in silence. So we are bringing this talk from Peace Village, where normally Judy Rogers gives the Thursday talks. A very beautiful place, and I hope you all have seen it or plan at least one day to come and see and experience the beauty of this place and the spiritual vibration here, and experience the community, the spiritual community who lives here. These are about 20 to 30 yogis, Brahma Kumaris who live here and keep this place going, and they all have their intense spiritual practices, together with offering retreats to the whole of the US and sometimes also internationally. And that lifestyle and those practices and the vibrations of everyone who come here creates a very special atmosphere of growth and learning, and sometimes also silence and quiet. Anyway, this is not a promotional video, not meant as a promotional video, but I just can't help being a whole day here now, even though we are doing things and activities and preparing for the retreat. There is, at a subtle level, so many deeper insights and experiences that happen. So I wish and hope that all of you could experience that too at some stage in person. The topic of today, the wisdom of modesty. And I don't know if you have seen the flyer for this talk, but I feel actually someone doesn't have audio, but then maybe you have to check for yourself because the audio here is good and others are hearing it well. If you have seen the flyer for this lecture, the flyer itself very beautifully in a visual way expresses modesty. And there is a certain dignity and royalty that is manifested in that flyer, which is part of this topic, modesty. Modesty is, at least to my mind, a word that is hardly used anymore. It is a virtue, but it is often not recognized as a virtue anymore, and it is not hardly ever talked about and hardly ever encouraged anymore. I do remember my own grandparents, especially my grandfather. He used to say, people who are modest in this life, they are the most successful people. Growing up, I thought I don't understand what he's talking about, because most of the people in my mind that appear successful in the world are people who talk loud, who scream the loudest, who draw the most attention, who who show off what they do, who talk about what they do, who continue to say what they're doing and to say what they want. They seem to be getting what they want or what they're talking about, or they seem to be getting success. But it also depends on what is it that we call true success. And working in a geriatrics clinic for many, many years, working with people who are in the last phase of their life, or people who have such a difficult condition that nobody wants to take or can take care of them, that they are in a clinic where people have to take care of them professionally. Many years I had to learn that people who stare death in the eyes or stare the end of life in the eyes, for who that is a reality, their understanding of what is important and their understanding of what is priority is often very different from when we live our life without some awareness of end or end of life. And their definition of success and their definition of a life worth living, their definition of love, their definition of happiness was quite different in many cases compared to like when I was growing up in my teenage years or late teenage or early 20s. And reflecting on it now and reflecting on this topic of modesty, if we can live a life of modesty, we might be much more content with our life. Now also, but also in the long run, and maybe, probably also when we're in the final stage of life. Because when we live a life of modesty, we are more likely to win people's heart. When we shout loud, we might impress people and we might scare people into doing what we want them to do, but we might not necessarily win their heart. And we might also not necessarily win our own hearts, because we might fight and or be loud, but somehow that deeper satisfaction and that deeper contentment does not come from that state of peacelessness and what would be the opposite of modesty? What would be a word that describes the opposite? Arrogance or ego or aggression or passive aggressive. And so the wisdom of modesty is that maybe initially it may appear that one looks to be a bit unsuccessful or incompetent initially. But the wisdom is that you're silently, quietly, and by your way of being, give respect and space to others and allow others to be who they are and what they are and to express. And in the long run, that might be a better strategy for self, strategy for life. Even our body and even health, the chemistry of the body is more in line. The body reacts better and responds better to a mind where there is modesty, where there is equilibrium, where there is peace, and where there is contentment, than a mind that is always running, a mind that is always busy, a mind that is always trying to impress or overpower or compete. So even at a physical health level, you might be more successful if we adopt this deeper stage of wisdom, the wisdom of modesty. And so modesty, to describe it, it would be a state of egolessness, or at least much less ego. Modesty would be a state of contentment and inner fullness, inner a deeper sense of attainment and fulfillment. And from that contentment and fulfillment, we come into interaction with others. And the attitude then will be one of giving and sharing. The attitude will be one of respect, one of appreciation, one of cooperation, and doing things together for the betterment of all. Whilst the opposite of modesty would be wanting to stand out in a crowd, wanting to compete and be the best by fighting, a state of arrogance, a state of, how do you call that, boasting. In the long run, and not only in the long run, even in the short run, you don't win people's heart by that. And so cooperation becomes a cooperation that may be forceful or out of fear or out of selfish interest, but not from the heart. And so is this the life that we want to lead? Is this a life that would give us a sense of attainment, contentment, a life of no regrets, a life of pride, a sense of pure pride? And not just at the end of our lives, but even at the end of the day, when you look back at the day, what would be giving you a sense of fulfillment and going to sleep quietly with a sense of contentment, and even the body in a state of relaxation. And we might have been doing lots, but not having to show off all that we have done. Now, I think life has its own balances. Human life, human society, it has its own balances. And if we approach life with a very limited perspective, and if we approach life without deeply reflecting about our own aims and principles and laws by which we want to abide, then we may fall prey to this opposite of modesty, because that is what is superficially seeming to be what is needed to survive and thrive. But if we deeply reflect and be more silent and be more quiet, the opposite of modesty is what the world is run on today: arrogance and ego and bondage, and pushing ourselves beyond all limits, and pushing others beyond all limits, and even manipulation and abuse and selfishness. What kind of society have we created? What kind of families have we created? What kind of world have we created? Is it really something that we can all be proud of? A world where people are depressed, are anxious, kill themselves and kill each other. A world where there's no sense of true brotherhood, where everybody is thirsty for love, but no one seems to be able to hold loving relationships for a long time. And so modesty, I don't know where it is. It's maybe just a nice word in our head and in the dictionaries that has been forgotten. And for us spiritual seekers, it might be a nice challenge and opportunity to explore again. And one nice experiment is in the different situations, respond in the opposite way as that you tend to respond or tend to react. Now, someone doesn't say hello. Respond differently. We might say in our mind, I'm not going to say hello. Who they think they are? But just smile and say hello. And even better, with this deeper sense of brotherhood and with the feeling of maybe there is no joy in their life. Let me at least give one smile. and a moment of joy. Even if they don't respond at all, how will you feel about yourself and about your actions? Just experiment with this. But there is a big but here. To come to a state like that, to be able to act and interact like that, to be able to play this game of human life like that, one needs a higher purpose and one needs a higher consciousness. To choose a more modest approach to life from the inside out, it requires that deeper inner attainments need to be there, and a perspective on life where we are not overwhelmed by life, where we are not trying to survive and just hold on to all kinds of things, trying to hold our head above water. There needs to be an inner clarity and an inner calm and a broader perspective on life, and a very clear understanding of self, true self. And this is where the spiritual knowledge and the practice of meditation comes in. One of the most beautiful aspects of spiritual knowledge is to understand yourself as a spiritual being. A being who is not this physical human being. This physical human being, Rona Sweitz, has a day of birth, and there is a date fixed, even if I don't know, a date that Rona will not be there anymore. But the spiritual being, the soul, transcends this physical body and this physical part that is being played out in this game of human life. Before Rona was born, soul was there. And when this body comes to the expiry date, which is not stamped somewhere, but it is there, when this body comes to the end of the expiry date, the soul, the real self, the higher being, transcends the end of this physical body. And so these words that you have heard, the soul is a traveler, the soul is an observer, the soul is a player in this game of human life. If we look at life like that, this becomes a reality. And Rona is just the part that is being played out. And let us play the game. Let us have this attitude of playing the game with dignity, without desperation, without anxiety, and without neediness, and without bondage, without identifying with things that are limited and temporary in nature. The soul has come from another dimension, is traveling, and this is a temporary experience. Nice female body, born in some place with some circumstances and some interactions. Nice game. Not just nice, it is a very sophisticated game. I think there is a little bit of funny light here. Does it disturb the view?
Yes, sister.
Doesn't disturb me, but
it'll be better if we can close. Is it a window where the sunlight is coming from?
There is no curtain.
Okay. Because it keeps changing, this,
Yeah, because the sun is coming down. Is this better now?
Yes. Yes, it's better. Thank you.
This is a nice scenery in this game. The setting sun, which is now blocked from my eyes, but I can enjoy tomorrow again. And so what has happened to to the spiritual being, we have forgotten where we have come from. And we have forgotten the ongoing journey. And so we think that the beginning and the end of this body is the beginning and the end of me. But deeper inside, that goes against our natural nature. We don't like this word end. We don't like this word, this idea of stopping existing. The whole medical world evolved with the aim to try and make human beings, and the body in this case, immortal, or at least not let it die, let it live longer and longer and longer. But body cannot be immortal. But this striving and this longing for immortality is there in everyone, actually. Nobody truly wants to die. And if they want to die, is because they're fed up with whatever the condition of life is, that they think it is better. But deeper inside, nobody likes to disappear into nothingness. It is against the natural state of who we are. But we think we are bodies. We think we are the physical personality. And that ends. So this identification with the body and this identification with the physical personality, with the part that is being played out, puts us in a mode of some sense of emptiness, not being protected, being vulnerable, being insecure and fearful. And that doesn't allow us to be truly modest, doesn't allow us to feel deeper, in a deeper way fulfilled, doesn't allow us to come into life and to approach life with an attitude of giving, but with the attitude of neediness, an attitude of desire and expectations and demands. But actually, anytime we have that attitude, no one truly wants to be close to us. And even nature doesn't want to serve us when we are in that mode, because your body also doesn't like it when you're in that mode and creates all kinds of unpleasant feelings and aches and physiological changes. So even matter would like us to be more modest. But it starts at the basis of what is our understanding of self, what is understanding of life, and what is purpose. Do we exist to just survive and grasp how much we can and scream out loud and superficially attain position, people, possession, and then end of life, the whole thing finishes? Spiritual knowledge tells us you are here to play the game, and play the game with royalty, play the game with dignity, play the game with wisdom. And then there will be beautiful experiences. But also know that things don't end with the end of this body. And that whatever we have imprinted in our consciousness in the form of habits and experiences and tendencies, that goes with the soul to the next destination. Your credit card doesn't go with you. your university certificates and your awards in the job and your possessions and your positions, they don't go with the soul. But a deeper sense of contentment, an ability to have harmonious relationships, those tendencies go with us. That are deeper treasures. And those deeper treasures are much easier emerged when we focus more and practice this virtue of modesty. But like I said, modesty, sincere modesty, not pretend modest, because that we're also very good at, no? To pretend, to pretend to be humble, to pretend to be nice. That is not true modesty. Then we just become good at pretending. What is the word these days? Faking. They have even this funny slogan, fake it till you make it. More you fake it, you just become expert in faking. Who wants to be expert in faking? We don't want the fake thing, we want the real thing. And so to come back to that basic awareness and that basic state of wisdom of knowing the self as a spiritual being, invisible, immortal, timeless, being of wisdom, a being of an imperishable being, a being who has higher qualities, a being of light, the soul. And that being has come into this world, into this body, to play this game of human life. And when the game finishes, soul just either goes back to the dimension of souls or journeys on, maybe into another body. And the forces of the game, the rules of the game, they are in favor for those who play the game with virtuousness, with egolessness. The forces of the game, the dynamics of the game of life and the dynamics of matter, they cooperate with those who are wise, who are egoless, who are divinely virtuous, those who have an attitude of giving. Life cooperates with them. And this is, please don't believe what I say. Experiment with it for yourself. Just see if there, just an example that I remember from something that I experimented with. If you have chocolate or some candy, whatever, and there are two children there, and the one child says, give to me, give to me, give to me. Yes, yes, I am hungry. Please give to me. I want it. And the other child says, yes, give to him. Give to him. He wants it. I'm happy he has it. He's hungry. He wants the chocolate. Give to him. To whom does your heart want to give the chocolate? To the one who wants to give it away. You may give it to the one who is demanding it or asking for it, but your heart is with the one who is modest, who is humble, who wants to give to the other, who wants to give benefit. And I have observed this within myself, Your deeper sense of sympathy almost naturally goes to those who don't demand, to those who want to serve. And also a natural sense of respect comes. Those who scream loud and try to impress you may have some sense of respect or maybe some reverence, and you will cooperate with them. But your heart goes to those who selflessly serve and who selflessly want the benefit of others. Nature does the same thing. Nature wants to see us in that selfless state of giving because we are higher beings. We have that higher nature. And in a deeply spiritual way, we would even say that divine nature or that godlike nature, but we don't access it. We block it because we believe we are human beings and we don't have anything and we need and we need and we need and we have to accumulate and to get. And if you don't get, you have to scream loud. And if you scream loud and you still don't get, then you have to take a stick to beat to get. We are kind of programmed in that limited way at present, but it wasn't always like that. And it is not in line with our true nature. And how we know it is not in line with our true nature? Simple. You just have to open the news and you see where humanity is headed. We destroy ourselves and we destroy each other. What kind of wisdom is there in that? Where is true harmony? And even things like illnesses, financial crisis, political crisis, on all levels, even the environment. We live in a way that is not even in harmony with the nature that we have to live with. What wisdom is there in that? Yeah, we may have our phones that can communicate within a second with anywhere around the world. But have our hearts come closer to each other? Do we have feelings of brotherhood for anyone also on the other side of the world who talks a different language and who has a different culture and different lifestyle and customs and systems? What wisdom is there in that? Just because they look different, they are our enemies. But all these problems we cannot solve because we don't put things right at the core. We have to put things right in the seed. And we have to put things right at the root. And that is within myself, within our own model with which we live and with which we approach life. With that that is to put right with the sense of who we truly are and what life is all about. And this is overlooked, in all the forces that run our society. The power of religion, the power of government, the power of silence, the power of science, the power of finances, the power in the arts world and in the entertaining world and the entertainment world. The essence of being is overlooked. And the essence of everything is the inner being, the higher being, the soul. It is like a plant that is sick and you're ignoring the roots and the seed. You're just trying to fix the what is this called? Polish the leaves. or trying to inject some new leaf here or some whatever artificial flower you put on the outside, but you're not addressing the root. Or in medicine, you're just focusing on the heart, or you're just focusing on the liver, and you're not seeing that there is a whole body and a whole system around that heart or around the liver. And then even further, you're just focusing on the body, not on the consciousness, on the thoughts and the emotions that run the body. It is such a disbalanced society that we're living in. But society is created by individuals. And if society is disbalanced, means individuals are disbalanced. And so the wisdom of modesty, it actually tells us to drop all the hype of the external and begin to take a look again in your inner world. And what is the quality of your inner kingdom here, your inner world? Are you ruling your senses, your body, your mind, your intellect with love and with wisdom? Are you using this body with wisdom? Do you have a bigger perspective on life? And the practice of meditation is even more simple than all of this. It is just the active reminder with a certain conviction that we are non-physical spiritual beings. And that this whole physical world is just a temporary experience, and we are experiencers, and we transcend this experience. And we can make the best of this experience if we approach it with full clarity, with wisdom, and with our higher nature emerged. Knowing it as a game and knowing ourselves as beings of wisdom, as beings of divinity, as beings who are immortal, as beings who are here as guests, as beings who have come from another dimension, a world of timeless silence. And so in meditation, what we do is you just withdraw all your attention from the external. You withdraw all this thinking about who, what, when, where, and why, and how, and all of that will still be there. But you come back to as if the seed, the soul, and begin to allow yourself to experience that being that transcends this body and this physical personality. Try and grasp the memory of before we came into this body. Being of light, of stillness, a state where there is no needs. All of this is extra. Come to that calm, pure feeling of stillness, of peace, of light. And reflect on these words. We're playing a game. But the player exists before the game starts, and the player continues after the game finishes. This is the real self, the soul. Timeless. And then when we play the game, There is not the need to prove ourselves in the game. We are content and full. We can still live and with using the skills, but it becomes more like a entertainment than a desperation. Using skill, using what is it? Play the game with strategy and with wisdom, but not out of desperation. I must win because otherwise I am nothing. I am already a complete being. I hope it makes some sense. We are trying to encourage people to also come to the center again, so that we can also have some live audience. And fortunately, there is live audience here. And you are also live, but you are through the computer live. So very much enjoy this live audience also. So are there any comments or questions so far? Also from this live audience. So a hand is raised, a live hand is raised.
Can you tell us more about a modest approach to life? What does it entail?
A modest approach to life.
Is it simplicity, simple living, or what is it?
Deeper inside, the feeling is...
Mr. Rona, can you please repeat the question for benefit of everyone?
The question is if we can elaborate a little bit on what is a modest approach to life. What would it look like? Is it simplicity? The theory behind would be, I'm not trying to compensate inner emptiness with external either things or name or fame or position or possession. I'm not trying to compensate an inner lack or an inner emptiness with external things because I'm already full inside. So whatever actions one perform or interaction or living, it is not of a taking. And so there might be tastefulness, so you still may choose to dress properly physically, but it will not be to try and impress or to try and show off, but it will be what is it? What is decent, what is proper, and what is suitable for the body and the climate and whatever. But it will not be out of the need to shock anybody or to impress anyone or to try and, create some attention for the self of others. And that will be the approach to everything. Food, for example. It will not be to compensate some lack of sweetness inside or some emptiness that you just try to fill by filling the stomach, or some need for some sense stimulus, because there is already an inner fullness which comes from soul consciousness, from awareness of true self and the experience of your spiritual nature. And so in interactions with others, the aim will be to have an harmonious exchange, which encourages or brings out the best in everyone. It is not to compensate for my traumatic whatever inner mood or memories or sometimes even my own limited perceptions of lack of things. But it's coming from a space of fullness, which has spiritual roots. And so then I don't use people or situations or things to make myself feel good. But I already feel good. And in that, I just try and add more beauty to what is already there. Does that make more sense? And so, for example, so I don't need to prove anything to anybody. So I don't need to impress, I don't need to scream loud. And deeper inside, for example, there is the conviction that what is truth is truth. And I don't need to prove it. I don't need to shout it out loud. It has its own reward as long as my existence is aligned with the forces of benevolence. But the ego within us says, what are you talking about? This ego and this lower nature within us, this acquired lower nature within us of ignorance and limited perspective, that says, no, you have to fight and you have to show others and you have to beat others down and you have to go ahead of others at the cost of others, if necessary even. But in the long run, that doesn't work. It makes us tired, it makes us sick, it makes us fed up with our own self. It doesn't make us respect ourselves. And it doesn't win the hearts of others either. And your body, sooner or later, will also not cooperate with you. And so I don't like this lifestyle of stress and harshness and aggression all the time. This adrenaline boost all the time. But we need, you need to make space to, in your head at least, to reflect more deeply on these things and allow that higher nature in the soul to allow that seed of soul consciousness to grow again.
Sister Anand, there is a question posted in the chat, but before I present that question, I want to ask a question from myself. Continuing, what you're just describing. The inner fullness takes a little time to develop, and probably it's a long time, but when you start the path of spirituality, or you just start, somebody who's listening this lecture first time, what might be the first step? Because you're not full, but you still understand the wisdom of this. What might be the starting point for that?
A moment of fullness. One moment of fullness is enough.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, because it is actually not that we are not full and that we are not complete. We are spiritual beings. We are immortal beings. We are divine beings. We are beings of love and purity and joy. We are players. We are children of the Supreme. This is the natural nature. But by getting into ignorance and by getting into ego and into bondages and limited perspective, we waste that higher nature and we waste the energy and we waste that fullness. So the moment you stop it, you will experience beauty and fullness and greatness. The moment you say with a certain conviction, and with deeper, with some concentration. The real self is this beautiful being of light. The real self is this being that is imperishable. And if we hold that in our mind with clarity, with an openness of mind, that moment, there is no waste. And at that moment, you will feel fullness. And you will feel wholeness, and you will feel peace. But the next moment, you might be distracted and get into some ego or some limited thinking again. So the thing get drained again, and you feel empty again. And so the effort is to experience, effort or the attention would be to experience those moments of fullness and build on it. Because one moment of fullness is such a beautiful, fulfilling and healing experience. And then the next moment again, and then another moment again, and then another moment again. Because actually we are complete beings. But we just identify with some incomplete mortal. We are identifying, and that limited consciousness brings all the conflicts and desires and neediness. And that has become almost second nature. It is like the default at present, operating. So we have to shift. A friend of ours used to say, you have to change the chip. Put another chip. You change the chip. But the old chip, that limited consciousness, that is like the default at moment. We have to change the default setting. But the moment you're in the right awareness, fullness is there. Completeness is there. Wholeness is there. And that this is why meditation is such a precious practice. Just every day, set aside some time to really get into this and get it right. And meditation, it means you sit down, you take time to reflect deeply and experiment with this. And more you do this, you can do this also when you are not sitting down and doing other things, and then holding that higher state of awareness. That is the journey. But one moment you can do right now, any moment. Does that help, Anita?
Yes, that's right. The question is, can you tell the difference between modesty and humility?
There is not real difference, at least from the angle that we are approaching it. These are similar virtues. Whilst humility often is more used for a state of consciousness and a state of awareness, and modesty many times takes the angle of behavior and character. But it is in the similar line. And another word to say is without ego, or much less ego and much less or no arrogance. Okay, but time flies, especially when you're in good company. So thank you. Appreciate the assistance of all of you. Assistance, you say that? Participation of all, but also you all assist with your thoughts and your vibrations and your energy. Thank you. Maybe we can have a moment of silent modesty. Thank you. And is there anything else that needs to be said before we close?
Just a reminder again that the Reviving the Higher Self is starting on July 11. The registration link is available on the website. Please go ahead and register if you haven't already done so.
Okay.
The 7-day course in the evening from 6:30 to 8. And Sister Rona is offering the course. She is the facilitator. Thank you, Sister Rona.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.